It has been said that all's well that ends well, but who defines what is good? Case in point, I find out my wife is a cheater, throw her out and get rid of her. Everything ended well for me, right? Then why am I so unhappy? It started 6 months ago when I married my secretary. The day Hillary walked into my office for her interview, my eyes bulged out of their sockets, and I could have said, "You're hired," before we even said hello to each other. A tall woman with a body to die for. She had the face of an angel and long blonde hair that fell to the middle of her back. As she sat down in front of me and crossed her incredibly long legs, I only had one question I wanted to ask. When can you start? I asked other questions, such as how many words per minute she could type, how good she was with shorthand, and how familiar she was with the computer programs I mentioned. To this day, I don't even remember her answers to those questions, but they didn't matter because I wasn't going to let her leave even if she couldn't do any of it. Fortunately, she turned out to be an excellent typist, could take dictation, and had excellent computer skills. 9 months later, we were married, and after another 6 months, I began to see and hear things that led me to believe that Hillary had not been all that faithful to me. At first, it was something I didn't hear. The guys stood around and talked, but fell silent when I approached, or they saw me approaching, and the group quickly dispersed. One day I walked into the men's room and caught the end of a conversation that immediately stopped when I entered. I only heard 3 words. It was Hillary, before Ron and Bert saw me, zipped up, and left. I started watching Hillary, but I didn't see anything unusual and chalked it all up to my imagination running wild. It wasn't until I connected to the conference room that I actually heard anything specific. I had several sub-teams working on different projects, and they used the conference room for team meetings. I was tired of them coming to my office to force me into a conference room just to answer some stupid question, so I decided to just install an intercom system. If they needed my information, they could simply call me, and I could answer their questions from the comfort of my office. I installed the system and then ran some tests to make sure it was working properly. The last test was from the room to my office, and it was working fine, but I forgot to turn it off when I left the room. I was sitting in my office going through some paperwork when Steve, Mike, Al, and Joe walked into the conference room. Mike asked where Bob was, and Joe laughed. "Where do you think he is now?" "He's trying to get Hillary ready for Chuck to leave town tomorrow." There was no mistaking who they were talking about. I was the only Chuck in that group, and I was the only one there with a wife named Hillary, and the next day I was leaving town on a 2-day business trip. "Why don't you try?" Mike asked Joe. I tried, but she said she wanted to try something new. A few chuckles, and then Al said, "That means I won't get anything for a while." "I wonder if Chuck gets anything," Mike said, and Al laughed again and asked, "When will she fit him into her schedule?" And they all laughed. Just then, Bob came into the room and asked what was so funny. "We were just wondering if Chuck would ever get to have sex with his wife. I don't know about Chuck, but I know for sure who's going to bury the bone in it tomorrow." "You're your own dog," Al said. "Get ready for some perversion," Steve intervened. "Perversion? What does perversion mean?" "She enjoys having sex while she talks to Chuck on the phone." "What the hell? No fucking way, guy. Do you think Chuck knows?" "I know for sure that this is not so. Hillary tells everyone she has sex with to make damn sure they never do anything that might get Chuck's attention. She says that if she even smells what he might suspect, then each of us will be cut off forever. You'll hear the speech tomorrow before she unzips your fly, and she means it." Then Mike said, "Okay, guys, let's get down to business. What are we going to do with—" And at that moment, I turned off the intercom, took the cassette out of the system voice recorder, and put it in my briefcase. One of the traits I don't have is stupidity. I didn't sit and moan, "Oh, this can't be. She loves me, I just know that she does." Denial is not part of my character. One guy, and this might just be wishful thinking, but when 5 guys are talking about something they've already done, you don't wring your hands and say, "There must have been some mistake." What hurt me the most was that these same 5 guys were supposed to be my good friends. We went fishing together, took weekend trips to Vegas together, and played poker at my house every other Friday. Some fucking friends. Then there was Hillary. What happened there? How did the blush fade from the rose so quickly? Could it be that she only married me for my money? Marry the owner of the company and be wealthy for life? I didn't know and didn't want to sort things out. I would make sure it was true, and then she wouldn't know what hit her. The next evening, I called home from San Francisco at my usual time, and when Hillary answered the phone, she sounded a little out of breath. I wasn't paying close attention to what she was saying because I was straining to see if I could hear the background noise. Hillary and I chatted for a couple of minutes about nothing, and we each told the other what we loved, and then we hung up. I hoped Bob was enjoying life. It would be a shame to go through what had to happen to him and not get anything out of it. When I got home, Hillary was waiting for me, dressed in my favorite outfit, a pair of pumps and nothing else. She asked me if I wanted something to drink or if I should just go to bed quickly. Hillary was a fantastic ass and I was going to miss her, but I was realistic and knew I shouldn't start missing her until she was actually gone. So I threw my briefcase on the floor and started stripping. It was a long night. As I left for work the next morning, I thought again about how much I would miss her. This coming Friday was a normal night for our poker game. The reason why the game was held at my home was simple, so that I would not have problems returning home. I can't stand alcohol. I like to drink, and I like to drink. I have a good time when I get so drunk that I pass out. When this happens, I will die to the whole world, and nothing will be able to wake me up. It has always been this way. We would meet at my house, play poker until I passed out, and then my friends would pick me up, put me on the couch, finish the hand, and leave. At poker nights, Hillary, saying that she couldn't stand being surrounded by loud men, would leave and go shopping or to the movies. A week ago, I had no reason to doubt that what she said was what she actually did. But now I wondered if she did any of those things. It was a given to me that if she was getting so much pleasure from having sex while talking to me on the phone, then she would get even more pleasure from cheating on me while I was right there in the room. On Thursday, while Hillary was at her hair appointment for the day, I went home, set up 2 remote control video cameras and put the remote controls under the seat cushions on the couch, and then went back to work. On Friday at 7 o'clock, the guys started arriving, and by 7:15 we were all sitting at the table, ready to play. Hillary came into the room, kissed me, and told me she would see me when I woke up in the morning, and then she left to go to the movies. "It's going to be a great night, guys," I said. I feel it in my gut. I broke the seal on a new deck of cards, and we made bets. I pulled out the ace of spades. "Good omen, guys. Get your wallets out and get ready to do your part. House rules are the same as always. 3 raises, no checks or raises, $5 limit, and dealer choice. I announced a draw of 5 cards, jacks or better, to open the account, and dealt the cards. I took my cards, looked at them, and couldn't help but smile. I had 3 jacks and 2 waste cards. Al, to my left, was the first player to bid, and he passed. Mike passed, and Steve opened a $1 account. Joe raised $1, and Bob folded. I smiled and said, "Yes, indeed, man, this is my lucky night," and collected $5. Al raised his hands, and everyone else who was still in the room congratulated him. Mike took 1 card, so I knew he was trying to get a flush or a straight. Steve took 3, so I knew he had the top pair. You had to open with jacks or better, and I had 3 jacks, so he had to have queens, kings, or aces. Joe took 2, making him difficult to read. He may have had a 3 of a kind, but he was known to hold top pair with an ace, and then bluff up a storm. I took 2, and when I looked, I saw that. I had discarded 2 unnecessary cards just to make room for 2 more unnecessary cards. Mikey checked, Steve bet $1, and Joe called, which told me he didn't get any help for his top pair. I raised $5, Mike and Steve folded, and Joe called. I showed my 3 jacks, and Joe raised his hand and said, "Damn." I collected the bank and snorted, "My night partners, no need to play. Just give me your money." My usual drink was a vodka tonic with a squeeze of lime, and it looked like that's what I was drinking, but there was only water in my glass. I gulped down my water, and when the glass was almost empty, I stood up and asked the guys if they were ready for more, and then went and refilled my glass with water and gave them their drinks back. I won one pot out of every 4 and was a real jolly Charlie as I drank my water and acted like I was drugged. 3 hours had passed since the start of the game, and in the middle of a losing hand, I performed my usual procedure of passing out. Al stood up and shook me, and I played dead. "He's ready," said Al. "Help me drag him to the sofa." Steve walked over to help him while Mike took out his cell phone and made a call. "He's ready," he said to the person on the other end of the line. "Okay. Baby, see you in 10 minutes. "She's on her way," he told the group. "Let's finish the distribution. I might even get 2 more before she gets here." Bob, who was playing with the band for the first time, asked what they were going to do with me. "It's okay," Al said. "He's the one who makes this thing work for us." "I don't understand." "Just wait, young Bob, and you will be amazed." 10 minutes later, Hillary walked through the front door, and as it closed behind her, I reached under the pillows for the remote control that controlled the camera positioned to cover the room. Hillary took one look at me and said, "Damn it, guys. Why do we have to go through this every time? You know you have to sit him down on the couch so it looks like he's watching." Steve and Bob came over and moved me so that it seemed like I was sitting there, watching what was happening. While I was being placed, Hillary undressed and said, "Reveal your cards to see who will go first." Al took off the high card, and Hillary asked him, "What do you want, love?" Hillary came around the table, and through her narrowed eyes, I could see her leaning forward over the table to look at me as Al walked up behind her. It then became repetitive as they all took turns having sex with her. Once they all fucked her, she told them to move me to a chair in the bedroom, and when they came for me, I pressed the button on the remote control of the camera in the bedroom. They carried me into the bedroom, sat me in a chair, and positioned it so that it seemed that I was watching again, and then it became disgusting. Over the next 2 hours, all 5 were at Hillary in various combinations. By the end of the second hooer, I'd had more than enough. And then, like a gift from the gods, Hillary said, "God, but I really want you to see this. Chuck." I couldn't refuse this. I stood up and said, "I'm not Hillary's God, but I can make your wish come true." Hillary's face turned ashen, and I didn't even bother to look at my so-called friends. I said to the room as a whole, "You all just keep having fun." I go into the office and start filling out the paperwork to fire 5 soon-to-be former employees and 1 soon-to-be ex-wife, and I leave the room. After about 5 minutes, I began to hear the front door opening and closing. 20 minutes later, Hillary entered the office dressed in an old terry robe. She sat on the leather sofa and watched me work on the computer. I ignored her, and after about 5 minutes, she said, "You're not really going to divorce me, are you?" "Of course I'm going to. It would be much cheaper if you didn't do this. If you divorce me, I'll have to hire a lawyer, and I'll end up exposing you to the truth. No divorce, no lawyer, so it won't cost you anything. Why do you want to stay?" "Because I love you." "Yes, exactly. This became very clear to me this evening. You just didn't understand what you saw." "What is there not to understand? You spent 4 hours having sex with 5 of my so-called friends, all the while humiliating and ridiculing me. So what? What does so what mean? I didn't mean a single word of it, and you should know that. By now, you must have realized that this was not the first time. Watching any of your other poker games, have you noticed any coldness, lack of affection? No, you didn't. But I do try to cheat on you every chance I get. I love you, Chuck, but I need more sex than 2 or 3 men can provide. When you're out of town, I always have 1 or 2 men to keep me busy, and they usually tend to me when I'm on the phone with you. But that's no disrespect to you, Chuck. It's just something. What turns them on? That's it, Chuck. Sex, not love, just sex. I love you, and I don't care about all of them. It doesn't change anything, Hillary. I am old-fashioned about some things, and one of them is that my wife belongs to me, and as soon as she is no longer mine, she is no more. Don't do this, baby. I won't go quietly. The guys love our time, and I can get them to support me in court. There will be 6 of us against 1. and we will all swear that you were completely drunk and you imagined all this. Let it be, baby. Just let it be and let me work on you. I will prove to you that I love you. You love me, but you're ready to go to court, perjure yourself, and try to make me look like a hysterical fool. This doesn't add up for Hillary. This is the only leverage I have to try to get you to give up this divorce thing. I don't want to do this, Chuck, but if I go far enough and try hard enough, I hope I can get you to back off. Sorry, Hillary, but as far as I'm concerned, you're damaged goods. Okay, baby, but don't say I didn't warn you. Okay, Hillary, you warned me. Just leave the house at the end of the day. While she was in the shower, I took out the cameras, took them into the office, and turned them on. I had it all on tape and clearly enough to identify all the players. I slept in the guest room and left the house at 6 in the morning for my usual Saturday morning golf date. I played 18 holes, and when I got home, Hillary had already left. Hillary left, and I sat down and made a list of what I needed to do first thing Monday morning. I spent the rest of the weekend looking around the house and packing up everything that belonged to Hillary that I could find and moving it into the garage. I made 3 copies of the videotapes I had of the aftermath of the poker game and locked all the tapes in a safe in my den. On Monday morning, I fired Bob, Joe, Al, Mike, and Steve and began hiring their replacements. That same day, I called the company lawyer and asked him to recommend a good divorce lawyer. And 2 days later, I met with him. I told him the story, gave him the 2 original tapes, and told him I wanted their existence to be kept a secret for as long as possible. I told him what Hillary told me about how she would gather all my ex-friends together and force them to lie in court. I wanted the bastards to do it, and then show them the tapes so I could watch them get arrested on perjury charges. Hillary did what she said she would do. She tried her best. Acting on the theory that divorce is impossible unless the papers are served, she disappeared. 6 months passed, and then she called me on the phone. Have you come to your senses yet? Did you miss me? Have you finally realized that I love you and don't want a divorce? Come on, honey. We can discuss everything and put it all together. I know we can do it. I was on the verge of hanging up when I had a brainstorm. You're right. I really miss you, but I don't understand how we can get back together after what you did. That's why we need to talk, honey. Okay, Hillary. When and where? Can't I just go home? I don't know anything about this. Please, honey. Well, I don't think it would hurt to try. When? Tonight? The sooner, the better. Okay, then tonight, but I don't promise anything. I watched from the window as Hillary pulled into the driveway and got out of her car. I watched as a man got out of a car parked across the street, intercepted Hillary in the front walkway, and handed her divorce papers. After he left, she walked up the path to the front porch, and I met her at the door. She waved the papers in front of me. You deceived me. It did the trick. So you're not going to talk to me? There's nothing to say that hasn't already been said. Doesn't it matter to you that I love you and don't want to divorce you? No, you said it yourself the night I caught you. You said you need more sex than 2 or 3 men can give you, and I won't stay married to a cheater. Do I miss you? Hell yes, but that doesn't change the fact that you cheated on me wholesale and with a bunch of assholes who were supposed to be my friends. I will never trust you again, and I can't live with someone I can't trust. If you don't pick up the divorce papers, Chuck, I'll ruin you. I don't want this, but I will do whatever I have to do to stop this scam. I'm only going to say this once, Hillary. Go to court with these idiots and lie, and I will destroy every single one of you. So far, all that the stab in the back cost them was their job. If they go with you and lie, I will make you all pay. Hillary started to say something else, but I closed the door on her. Hillary hired a lawyer, and the dance began. Her lawyer demanded, and my lawyer objected, and this went on for some time. Neither side gave an inch, and the case eventually went to trial. I told my side of the story, and then Hillary and the 5 idiots stood up and told the story she said they would tell. The judge said it sounded like a words-against-words situation, only she had a backup plan, and I didn't. At this point, my lawyer said that we had all the necessary documentation, and he produced the tapes and several fingerprints that were taken from the tapes and audio recordings from the conference room. The judge dragged both lawyers, Hillary and I, into his office and started kicking our asses for not clearing all the trash out of the way before coming to his court. You had notes, and you could have revealed that you had them. You wouldn't have to stage this farce in my courtroom. At this point, I interrupted the judge and told him that I did not allow my lawyer to divulge the information. I wanted everyone to see how deceitful Hillary and 5 of my former friends were, and the only way to do that was to subpoena them and let them lie to God and everyone else, and then prove that they were liars. The judge called a break. I left the courtroom and made a phone call. That day, the courier service delivered copies of everything I owned to the wives of 5 idiots, as well as Hillary's mother, father, sister's brother, and her 2 living grandparents. That was 3 months ago, and the divorce is final. Hillary left the marriage, keeping only what she brought with her, her maiden name. Steve was somehow able to save his marriage, but the other 4 are in divorce court, and they won't do nearly as well as I did. I haven't heard a word from Hillary since she called me the day after our court appearance, and called me every vile name she could think of. How could you stoop so low as to send this to my family? I warned you that if you lie in court, I will destroy you. You should have known me well enough to know that I would carry out my threat. You lied, and I made sure you paid for that lie, and I hung up. I got rid of her, and I should probably be glad, but why do I think about her all the time, and why do I feel so unhappy? Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.